All right, the AFL Today Show is here for round 13, the wrap after the King's birthday weekend. Leo, what do we cover?
I'm going to tell you why I think Adelaide might be the second best team in the game.
Ooh. And Collingwood, they've done it again. Another small victory. Can anyone beat them when it gets down the wire?
They've done it again. Check out the AFL Today wrap right now. Round 13 is done and dusted, as is the King's birthday long weekend. Welcome to the AFL Today Show, brought to you by Stockhead. I'm your host, Liam McAllion, also known as the Stats Guy. Here we go, lads. We've got Leo Mullaly in the corner, as always. He's got the AFL Today Show merch on, looking very sharp. How you going, Leo?
Oh, thank you. That's a great compliment. Yeah, this shirt, I really like it. And Hawthorn won, even though that was an eternity ago. But I'm feeling good.
Why don't you show on the back? Why don't you squat? Squat in front of the camera.
I'm afraid if I squat, I might myself.
Oh, no.
Okay.
He's dropped the S-bomb already.
Oh, yeah.
That's all right. That's all right. We've also got Marcus Bazzano. He knows what he's doing. He hasn't got the AFL Today Show merch on, but he's still looking pretty sharp. How you going, Marcus?
Oh, thank you very much. So are you. It was a low-scoring week of footy, but it finished very strongly.
It did. It did finish very strongly. Today was an awesome game, which we will touch on towards the end of the show. Make sure you subscribe to AFL Today on YouTube. Currently, the last 28 days, the viewers aren't subscribed. 72% of you aren't subscribed. So make sure you hit that subscribe bell. Hit the notifications bell as well, because it goes a long way. You can get us any content, especially Leo's posting. It will come up. Any content. And we're doing all types of content. So make sure you subscribe. What are you doing, Leo? What are you doing if you're not subscribed?
I reckon, if you like what you see, just a little subscribe goes a long way.
I like when I see Leo, so why aren't you subscribed? I'm subscribed. You get to see Leo's face.
I'm surprised. Oh, thank God you're subscribed. That would be a worry if you weren't subscribed to your own content. Anyway, follow us on X, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok for more footy content all season long. That's AFL Today AU on all the socials, except for Facebook is Aussie Rules Today. Make sure you leave a comment on this show as well. We might be reading it on the socials, reading it on the shows. We definitely reply to them all throughout the week as well. So more comments, the better, because we love your comments and we love a bit of fan interaction. All right. Let's get right into the show. Round 13 results, lads. It might not have been the greatest round, but we will delve into all of it. So Thursday night footy, Marvel Stadium is the first one. We were all there, actually, to some extent. Western Bulldogs, 8 goals, 11, 59. Oh, we can talk about it. 8 goals, 11, 59 with the Dogs. Hawthorn, 12 goals, 9, 81. Marcus, this is your one.
Yeah, the Hawks needed to deliver, and they needed to bounce back, and they did it for you, Leo, and Alessi behind the camera.
No,
only you, only Leo. But it was an impressive performance because they kept the second best offensive team in the competition in the Western Bulldogs to 59 points, which was their lowest score of the season. And I believe it was the third time this season that Hawthorn have conceded less than 60 points in a game.
That's elite.
And they needed to back it up with their pressure as well. Against the Dogs, they had more tackles than their previous 2 weeks combined. So they had 36 and 38 the previous 2 weeks. And that's 74 tackles combined, but they eclipsed that. They finished
math.
They finished with 80 something. Good boy.
That's an early good boy.
But more importantly, though, they got the job done with some big outs. Obviously, Will Day's still out. The Wizard was laid out with illness, and James Sicily as well, the general in the defence, was out.
Well, Will Day's out because he's coaching local junior teams. He's going well still. He's going well.
He is. His career future,
maybe he's coaching. There we go.
He was on the sidelines with the headset on, looking like a man in power.
There you go. There you go. Sorry to interrupt there, Makosa.
That's fine. Makosa. Chol was a standout for me for Hawthorn. After going goalless in the previous 2 weeks, he finished the game with 4 goals. Especially when a lot of people were like, "Does he do enough? Does he kick enough goals to keep himself in the side? Can Hawthorn go all the way with Chol being the number 1 forward?" You've seen here against a very decent defence in the Western Bulldogs that he can indeed. But the Dogs, what was it? Was it just the post-bye Blues boys?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was. Like, it's so, I guess, harsh to say that they put in like a crap performance and like they weren't up for it. It's just one of those things where you get jumped at the start. You weren't, I guess, mentally prepared for it, but they tried to work themselves into the game and they fell short.
Yeah, they always look second to the ball. I think they were just a little bit lackluster going inside 50, really slow as well. But that's also a credit to the Hawthorns flooding back and defense as well. But look, they had chances to kick straight. They finished 8-11, but the Stars really just didn't kick straight when they needed to. You had Bont, English, and Lob combining for 1 goal 6.
Yeah, they tried to swing Lob forward again, which I didn't mind to give it a go, but it just didn't work at all.
That was the old break glass in case of emergency. I think Bevo sensed the game was slipping, and it was a good move, but ultimately wasn't enough.
It was a good move that we'll probably see hopefully throughout the year a little bit more.
Well, if Darcy's coming back, then
true. And they're just scary because Darcy's coming back as well. They got so many positives still, the Dogs, despite losing. But did we buy into the Dogs a little bit too early, boys? Are we still saying they're flag hunting?
I don't think flag hunting.
Yeah, I still think right up there.
Premiership contenders?
You agree, Leo? Yeah.
I still want to buy some stock in the dog.
Oh, yeah.
Some dog stock.
Dog coin?
Pet stock?
Dog coin, yeah. Dogecoin.
Not a sponsor.
Be aware of what you're buying before you buy it. No, I look, as we said, it's post-buy blues for the Dogs, I think. And I think they'll be fine. I speaking to a few Dogs friends, speaking to my girlfriend, weird brag, I know.
You speak to your girlfriend?
Yeah.
Weird, right?
Nerd. Nah, keep going.
Just about because she's a Dogs fan, they'll be fine. You don't need to worry about this performance. Coming off the bye, you can roll back into some good football pretty soon. And they didn't get smashed. They were in the game going into the last quarter. So I wouldn't be worried.
Yeah, I agree.
Talking about the Dogs or your sex life there?
Oh, let's move on. Let's move on from that. I wanted to bring up Guinea's goal. So obviously, you've one of the few goals that I saw from in the bar, but that's okay. Guinea sprinting down, obviously tapped it over the top. Awesome effort to get it over the top. Then ran into the open goal. Then goes, oh, I have some of these ones. You can have the ball, guys. Oh no, I'm going to kick a goal. Almost missed, by the way. Almost missed. But he showed the opposition the ball. What do we think about that, lads?
I loved it. I think it's great, and I want to see more players show their personality in different ways.
I think it's fine. It's not really a disrespect thing. I don't think. He's just out there enjoying footy. We want to see more flair, more personality, and we get that with Guinea, who arguably has some of the most personality in the competition.
Yeah, and the whole
as the older generation, how did you see that?
Oh, it was a couple of whippersnappers not doing too well. That was not. Just pull your head. No, I loved it. I think we needed more of that. I think more celebrations, more antics, and things like that. And when the Hawks are playing at their best,
that's what they do.
And the league's gonna hate them, but you need a team to hate, and you need a team to sort of that gets on the nerves of other teams, and that's how they win sometimes. So I think I'm all for it.
Every good team has a bit of dog in them.
Exactly, and the Hawks definitely do.
What is it about dogs in this? Too much dog
chat.
Actually, can I say one more thing about the Dogs? We'll finish on a positive note for the Dogs. Sure. Ed Richards. He has continued his All-Australian form. He was superb. He finished with 25 and a goal. He was by far probably the best Bulldogs player throughout the night.
Yep, he was.
All Australian, we're talking Ed Richards.
I think he could be.
Yep, I agree with that.
Can you fit a liver as well in there?
And a redhead.
Don't know. We'll see. We'll have to see about that. We'll go talk about some All-Australian, midget All-Australian in the next couple of weeks, actually. So check out the socials, AFL Today AU. All right, Friday night footy, Adelaide Oval. This is another cracker. Adelaide 10-8-68. Defeated Brisbane 8 goals, 15-63. Oh my God, what the hell happened in this one, Leo?
What the hell happened in this one? All right, that trend was last week, mate. Calm down.
Halliburton's still out there. He's gone, all right?
Now, look, this was an arm wrestle for most of the game. It was, wet conditions, high pressure, tackling, you name it. Anything to do with pressure, that was this game. Brisbane got away a little bit in the third quarter towards the end. Charlie Cameron got involved with 2 goals in the third, and their mids were getting on top. I think their 4 main mids let the disposal count in the third quarter. So they were just slowly getting on top, and if you were a Crows fan, you're probably like, it's a bit dicey here. This could get away from us. But 5 unanswered goals to start the last quarter for Adelaide. I think Phil Thorpe got 1 in the first minute. Ben Keys got 2. He ended with 20 and 3.
I love watching Ben Keys.
He's underrated, but now he's growing into his role and people noticing him.
We've just talked about All-Australian Shaq. Could he possibly be a sneaky chance to be
Ben Keys?
I don't think
there's too many good small forwards.
I think he's well in the conversation.
Is he?
Keys. Yes, he's definitely up there for a small forward position. Just what he gives Adelaide is immense. Rochelle also kicked 3 goals. He was really good. And Dawson with a crucial mark and goal late, the little specky. Phil Thorpe will be in that poster, I think Matthew Nick said, of the mark.
Yes.
But that was a great goal as well. So that was a really important part of the game because Adelaide took most of their chances. And then on the flip side, Brisbane were like, no, we're going to do the opposite. They kicked 8 behinds in the last quarter. A couple were out in the full.
Yep.
Zach Bailey.
Or not making the distance or out in the full.
Yes, he got the high free, which he played for, but it was there.
One got smothered as well. I think it was Morris. Yeah.
And then he had a chance last minute and he sent it to a terrible position. He was like 5 meters out. They rushed it through.
Yep.
countless repeat entries, and they got nothing for it, didn't they?
Yeah, it was actually Adelaide adjusted so well. So obviously the Lions kicked 8 behind in the last quarter. Adelaide kicked 0-6 in the first quarter. So they and then since after that they were 10 goals too. So they just kicked so accurately. And we talked about it last week on the show. There was like 3 games that were decided from accurate kicking. You just can't be doing that, especially Brisbane, who have been very bit average for the last couple of months. But that's okay. That's okay. You did talk about them being wasteful, but Leo, you've been talking up Adelaide's backline. You talked them up midweek as well. What did you think about their performance?
I thought they stepped up massively late. Their defensive unit, I think, has been exceptional for a few weeks now. Mark Keane, Josh Worrell, Rory Laird, to name sort of the main 3. The desk. I thought they all had huge moments when the game was on the line. They were just putting their bodies in the way, throwing their will at every contest. And then you have others who are underrated. You know, Mitch Hinge, McAllion. I know he's not underrated, but Brodie Smith as the sub when he came on was really important. It's just overall, the defensive unit is a tough system to crack. And I think we've got to start talking that unit up as one of the best in the competition. And I want to end on this game with a question, lads, to the panel. So Adelaide now have their second win against the top 9 side. It was in a close game. They've normally smacked teams in wins this year. They normally win, I think it was 50 points that we said on the preview show. Firstly, are they genuine contenders? Do we rate them now as a contender? And do we think they're bigger contenders than the reigning premiers, the Brisbane Lions?
Getting a bit big for your boots over there. I don't know. If
I'm
you're
asking the question, mate.
that's my opinion, but you'll start with Marcus first.
Yeah, I think they genuinely are a contender.
They are. Okay, we can confirm that one.
They are a contender.
No.
They're top 3 in scores.
You just said they've only had 2 wins against top 9 sides. They clearly should have lost. Brisbane could have won by a couple of goals. I don't think they're a contender just yet. They can be top 4th at the very best, I think.
But I would say that they're not bigger contenders than Brisbane.
Okay.
Not big. Okay. Even though they're playing better football and they're the better team at the moment, in my opinion.
Wouldn't that make them bigger contenders right now?
No, I think come the end of the season, they could be peaking a little bit too early. Adelaide.
Yes.
Okay. You've got to peak at the right time, and Brisbane know exactly how to do that. And towards the end of the season, I think they'll come on strong.
And you can't buy experience at 7-Eleven, can you? So Adelaide don't have the finals experience. Brisbane know what they're doing. Fakes had a good quote last week. He was saying that they were arguably playing worse halfway through last year. Remember there was a stage where they were like Fakes out and all that?
Yeah.
So they're still going all right at Brisbane. I think this was just a bit of a blip in the last quarter.
Can I just, I don't know, I look at it. We're halfway through the season, and I don't want to discredit Brisbane because they have been doing what they need to do, but they've had sort of one super impressive performance.
I agree. Yeah.
You look at Adelaide, I reckon that you could list off 5-6 games where they've been the dominant side from start to finish. They've been ruthless, and you bring up their record against the top 9. They did lose to Gold Coast by a point away.
True.
They bottled it at Gather Round against Geelong by 3 goals. They should have really held on to that one. Freo as well, away they lost by 3 goals.
So they're still hanging in there. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
At the moment, I think Adelaide are above Brisbane as a flag contender right now.
Whew, that's a big call.
What I will say is I don't think I'm going to be saying that in 6 weeks' time.
Well, let's. Why don't we clip this up for 6 weeks' time? We'll have
Brisbane can flip the switch and they'll be above them. That's all I'm saying. So
there we go.
Yeah,
I don't mind ending on that because we've got a different thoughts there. All right, so Adelaide get the job done. That was just a crazy finish. Just accurate kicking. Just kick straight and you win games. Pretty simple, lads. Pretty simple.
Pretty simple stuff.
Pretty simple. Anyway, Saturday, MCG, Richmond, Sydney. Richmond, 4 goals, 12-36. Sydney, 11 goals, 14-80. Lads, just want to start on the top. We were wrong. We were wrong. We got to do an apology.
We put a hand up here.
We didn't not even one of us got it wrong. We all got it wrong, and Richmond got pantsed.
The comments doesn't need to keep receipts for us because we keep our own receipts.
Exactly.
Yep. And we're all idiots, and we know that. So
we were idiots.
You don't need to call us out in the comments. You can actually. Engagement's good. There was
a bit of emotion, I reckon. We were keen on Richmond to win. And what didn't happen.
I think we just sort of based it off Richmond losing by 90 and Richmond almost beating GWS, but Sydney bounced back.
But Sydney bounced back. So they needed this win, Sydney. They really did. I thought they were really good, especially in the second half. They mainly got the job done through the Lizard. Nick Blakey, 34 disposals, 7 intercepts. one of you guys definitely brought it up on the Thursday show, saying that he will love the MCG, the big space of the MCG.
Yes.
He can scurry like a lizard across the ground.
I think I said he was the player that needed to stand up the most, but I think I also said in that he should have played forward. So I'm not.
Oh yeah, you did.
I wasn't fully right with that
And he
one.
dominated off halfback, but that's okay. And one guy that I just want to massive shout out. I said it on Thursday's show, but he was awesome again. Brodie Grundy. He is absolutely back. He had 19 disposals, 51 hit outs, 6 tackles, an awesome running goal. I don't know if you guys saw that. It was about to roll out. He tapped it in twice. He showed it in the unicorn that everyone used to call him, that he could just play like a midfielder. That goal was awesome. Had to spin around, kick it from the goal square. Now, it's his 5th straight game of 19 plus disposals, 5 plus clearances, and I think 35 plus hit outs. Sort of like Max Gorn type areas. So it's back to his old days of a couple of years ago, which is good to see.
And he's not coming up against any bums either.
No.
Like he was up against Toby Nankervis, who's not a mug. He's a very good player.
Very good ruckman.
Yeah.
The only thing I'll say on Nank and a few other ruckmen, they do well, like in terms of their own stats. There's a few ruckmen in the comp, they look like they're having a good season, but they allow a lot of touches for the other rucks.
Says the shortest guy on this panel.
What? I
played ruck though.
Under
He
12s,
did play
mate.
ruck.
Yeah, that was
Under
great.
12
It was a
ruckman.
great ruck. Great
Mate,
ruck.
why don't you go down to Richmond and show Toby Nankervis how it's done?
I actually might.
You're gonna need the specky bag, I think.
I could get a game. Yeah, why not? No, definitely not. On Richmond, they did bring the tackling pressure early. It's very similar to their efforts, sort of their games before gather round, where they dominate, not just dominate, but they're really good in the first quarter and a half, and then they just fall off a cliff. So they look strong earlier. They had Prestia back. I think with Prestia and Taranto in the midfield, it looks 100 times better. Prestia has been great his first couple of games back. They combined for 46 disposals and 2 goals, but most of that impact was in the first quarter and a half. So that was a bit of a worry that they're getting a bit older and can't do the 4 quarters. Yeah,
Prestia scored a great goal as well.
He
The two
did.
Sell
the candy twice, and then but Richmond after the first 10 minutes, they need the bye to come very quick. You could tell that young team
They're a
is
bit
just
cooked,
running
yeah.
out of legs. It's getting a bit tired.
So they kicked 3 goals in the first quarter, and then their next goal wasn't until the last quarter. And it was almost 3 quarters time length that they didn't kick a goal. So Sydney kicked 10 straight goals, 10 unanswered goals, which is absolutely incredible. Like, it doesn't matter who you're playing against. That's an awesome effort. A little shout out to Alex, who's usually on the show. His favourite player. He's got his little wristband. Beef Sheldrick. 19 disposals, 5 clearances. We weren't sure if he was ready at the start of the season for that AFL level. He's gotten in and out of the side, but he was awesome. You got Rowbottom, who had 14 tackles, 9 tackles just in the third quarter alone when they started going well. I think we've talked him up before as like when he was their skipper and when Callum Mills isn't playing and things like that. Underrated, Rowbottom, just in general.
Underrated career. And I think especially when Errol's playing, he really complements that midfield well. He sort of is that defensive guy that means that Heaney and Chad and Errol can sort of just do their own thing and be themselves. And if you've got Rowbottom there being the one doing the grit and the unnoticed work, it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah. And we usually been talking up the green shoots. They didn't have their best game. It was against the experience of Sydney that just stepped up. But you got Seth Campbell, still 2 goals. He's just ticking along nicely. He's kicked a lot. I think he's up to like 20 goals now, which is exactly what you need from a young guy and a small forward. So few positives for Richmond early, but massive positive for Dean Cox, for Sydney fans. That's the win. I know it was against Richmond and they're now 17th, but they just needed a big win just to feel that confidence again.
They would have gone into that game thinking we could lose based off form. We could lose. So we needed to win because if we lost, Richmond would have been on the same points as Sydney. So
that's wild.
They did need that win and they got it.
Yeah, they got it. So fair play to Sydney. We were wrong, and we'll still keep an eye on for the Richmond green shoots because they're still going all right, as I mentioned, Seth Campbell. All right, Saturday, GMHBA Stadium down at the Cattery. Geelong, 9 goals, 7, 61. Gold Coast, 5 goals, 7, 37. This is one of the games where there was a lot of rain across Victoria across the weekend.
There was a lot of rain, and Gold Coast continues their streak of not winning at GMHBA.
Oh,
They just struggled to convert from any territory. I think there was a stage, maybe in the second, that they were leading inside 50s, but Geelong being so strong defensively in this game meant that Suns got really nothing out of that. And I just always felt that like the Cats were just fending him off all game, keeping him at arm's length, being like, nah, we've got this game pretty much control. I know it's only 4 goals, but you never felt it was threatened for Geelong.
It felt like a 40 plus in the wet. Like Geelong,
Really?
Like when I was watching it, like maybe not 40, maybe 35. It felt
semantics.
I know, but it felt like a lot more
maybe
than
37 and a half.
Yeah, it felt like a lot more than 4 goals because in the wet they just looked so much better than Gold Coast could only get 37. Geelong missed a few easy ones. They could have had a few more goals.
Well, Gold Coast only got 37. Max Holmes got 40.
Oh,
40
God, he had
disposals.
40 more.
He was mega huge, Max Holmes.
Mega huge.
Mega huge.
That's not-
Why are you
Mega
surprised
huge
at that?
Holmes.
I've got that in the run sheet.
That just doesn't make sense. But I love it. I love it.
Well, Bailey Smith was laid out, so he needed to be the guy, and he was the guy.
Yep.
So, as I said, 40 disposals, 10 clearances, and just an absolute running machine. He's everywhere. In every crevice of that stadium, you find Max Holmes.
Can Bailey Smith get back in the side?
Well, does that mean when Bailey Smith's in the side, we're not getting the best out of Max Holmes? Is there
Probably,
something that
but
Chris Scott needs to do?
no,
He's been good. He's been very good.
I
Steve.
don't
has,
agree with
but-
that. No, because
I was just throwing it up there as a.
because even if you had Bailey Smith, I still think they've got they've got enough players in that midfield mix. They all have their own role. They're all different strengths. So I think Bailey Smith out, you still see Max Holmes, and whether he's in or out, you'll still see the best of Max Holmes.
Maybe he'll still meeting up with Andrew Dillon at that.
Andrew Dillon,
Did you see that meet up?
Yes.
yes, got to keep him under control. Keep
Just
Bailey
just
under
as a role model, but I don't know. I don't
He
mind.
might be
it.
going to
But-
Guinea
but-
next
but-
week.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But we'll still use you for all of our promos for future big
Exactly.
games.
Yeah.
You're a very handsome man. He's probably asking about how can he get a better haircut.
Yeah, I reckon Andrew Dillon could rock a headband.
But can he grow his hair out? That's another question.
I reckon it's a wig.
Anyway,
No,
from a Suns perspective, they did try hard. They showed effort, but I just don't think they had a player that was anywhere near Max Holmes and
You're right.
being so influential in the game. But stats guy, you walked into the office today and you said, Leo, I know you've got Suns cats, but I need to give this man a shout out because he was really good and who wasn't.
That is exactly what happened. Joel Jeffrey, 25 disposals, 9 intercepts. I've loved his move to the back line because he just wasn't getting it done in the forward line. He would score goals in the VFL. He'd come into the AFL, couldn't get a touch. Since he's been moved back, he's been solid, but that's really good. Really good in the wet for a pretty tall guy to get 9 intercepts as well. So I was really happy with him, and I'm happy the way Dim has moved the Magnets a little bit this season. I'm really happy with that one.
And that's in a back line that has Noble and Rioli.
So they didn't do that much, which
Yeah.
I was surprised about because the little guys in the wet, I don't know, they're not. But I think, especially Noble, he needs the Marvel roof or the sunny Gold Coast. Like he's not a wet weather type player. Rioli's not too bad, but
So you're
I don't know.
saying
He
the
did have 36 in very slippery dewy
Yeah,
conditions
but-
in Darwin.
it's hot. I don't know.
So-
Something
so
about it,
you
I don't know. It just didn't look right in the wet.
Didn't look right.
Are you saying the Gold Coast Suns aren't good when the sun isn't out?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
that's
That-
a-
There may
maybe
be
they should
something
change
in
their
that.
name. Maybe they should change their name.
Okay, well, I think that's enough on the Suns with that terrible chat from Marcus. The Cats. I actually thought this was a really strong win for the Cats.
It was,
wasn't, I guess, the most exciting game, but no Baz laid out. Dane just sort of warming back into it. And Jezza got nowhere near it. 6 touches, 0 goals.
Goalless, yeah.
So, you have Stengel come up with 4 goals, and just their defense was strong as it could be, as sturdy as ever. Likes of Stewart, I thought that was his best game for the season. Henry was great. O'Connor. That's not O'Connor if you want, but O'Sullivan as well.
O'Sullivan, yeah.
And Humphreys. These guys just fantastic. So I thought that was a really important win for the Cats.
Yep, definitely. So, important win for the Cats. And before we get into the rest of the games, let's have a break with Stock It. Hey, Leo, quick question. Do you know what the ASX means?
Do you mean AFLX?
No, mate. The ASX, the Australian Stock Exchange.
Oh, man, I'm absolutely clueless with that stuff.
Well, lucky for you, Stockhead is a free website that gives you everything you need to know about punting stocks on the ASX.
Damn, that sounds pretty good. Where do I check them out?
Check it out via stockhead.com.au, and it's even easy for your little pea brain to understand.
Damn.
Saturday night, Monica Oval, GWS Port Adelaide, GWS 7 goals, 850. Port Adelaide 9 goals, 1266. What an awesome result for Port. Absolutely big bounce back, huge shock result, and a win on the road, lads. That's an awesome effort.
Great win from Port Adelaide.
Yeah.
And again, we were wrong. We all did.
Public apology.
Yes. Public apology.
Oh, I got to do a big public apology later for the locks. That's that. Like,
We'll get to that.
I've had a stinker this week, just in general. But
And
that's-
last week.
That's okay. We're just here to entertain. I'll be better. I'll be better next week. GWS, they won in most stats, but Port were great at hanging in there. They were better at scoring inside 50. They had 21 shots to 15 for the day. Finished really strongly, especially in the second half. The main guy, the man of the moment, was Zach Butters. 32 disposals, 12 clearances. He was incredible. If you don't have him in your super coach side, if you don't have him on your TV when Port Adelaide are playing, what are you doing? He's
on your TV.
Yeah, why not?
Just a photo of him, not even the game.
Just his highlights, I reckon. Connor Rozier was great as well, 28, but he kicked 1 goal, 3. I thought it might be a little bit costly, but they still finished strong. Leo, you'd mentioned this man on the Thursday show. We both had a bit of back and forth about this guy. Miles Bergman, he was instrumental.
Yep.
He was really good. I'll read him out. 23 disposals, 3 clearances, 7 intercepts, and he was actually a bit 50-50 backline and
Yeah.
midfield. Are you happy with him?
I like that use of him because he's a very good defender. I think underrated back there. But we talk about not having Horn Francis. And even when Horn Francis is back, I still like that split because it gives them a different look. Because they have those 3 stars. You got Willem Drew and Ollie Wines, who are great players, but you could argue it doesn't really give them a point of difference. I like what Bergman can add, a bit of poise, a bit of class.
Pressure as well.
A bit of pressure, that defensive sort of dude who can roll back. Yeah, well done, Ken.
Yeah, Ken.
Sign him up.
Sign him up for another year. Is Ken going to another club? There we go.
Come to Hawthorn.
Don't
come to
no, wait, what?
Don't come to Hawthorn.
Sam Mitchell out. There we go. On the other side, this was a weird game. It was very close, very low scoring. It was a bit of crazy weather again in Monica. Sam Taylor, he was unbelievable though. Is he still the best fullback in the comp? Or what do you guys think?
I think so, but is he all
It's debatable.
Is he an All-Australian right now?
Overall, he is, I believe. But Mark Keane, you mentioned Adelaide backline. I think over the past month, I think he's probably been the best key defender in the competition.
Imagine us talking about the Adelaide defence or Mark Keane at the start of the season compared to Sam Taylor. That is why.
Can I throw out Billy Frampton? No, I'm actually being serious. He's
Well, the
been
last
good.
3 weeks, yeah.
No,
But not for the season.
on Sam Taylor, I think he is, but is he All-Australian is a different question.
No, I don't think it's a lot.
Yeah.
No.
It's going to be a big debate. Fullback is always a big debate in All-Australian. I think he's right up there, but maybe not All-Australian just yet. But he was awesome. 19 disposals, 16 intercepts, 90% disposal efficiency.
16 intercepts from 19 touches.
It's crazy, right? Yeah. So, I think he had a few off the hands, few intercept marks as well. He was awesome. But he was holding them in it. So the defense was really holding them down here until the last quarter where Port sort of kicked away a little bit. But the big one here, GWS's forward line is the one I'm worried about. Jesse Hogan went goalless last week. 2 goals this week, which isn't horrible, but we all talked him up as having a big game. Port Adelaide backline have been horrible against tall forwards. Radaglia did a really good job on him, and a few of them did well covering.
Fantastic.
Are we a little bit worried about Jesse? Because this is the game where he should be bouncing back and kicking at least 4, in my opinion.
Yeah, I thought he was going to have a big game, so I'll raise my hand. I was wrong with that one. And I just think, you mentioned the forwards. They're not getting their tsunami into that forward line either.
No.
And I think you talked about Jesse Hogan. I think, and the experienced players like Josh Kelly, in that last quarter, they missed shots that would either get them in front or bring them back within a couple of points.
Yep.
So that's when you need your experienced players, like which GWS had an abundance of throughout that game. But it was actually the Powers youngsters and youth and exuberance that got them over the line.
Exuberance, what a word.
Christian Moraes, who was the sub, and Joe Richards were the 2 late goal kickers.
2 late goals.
Adelaide.
Yeah, so that's what you need. It was actually really good because we've talked up Port Adelaide all year. They're big names, they're stars, they're experienced players doing everything. Yep. So it's good to see them get the young guys exactly right, do a bit of the job of the dirty work. So on their scoring power, GWS, they only had 1 goal in the second half, which never happens with this team. They're usually pretty good at finishing and kicking a lot of goals. And 5 of their last 8 games, they've scored 81 points or less. So I'm really, really worried about their forward line and just not kicking enough goals because that's what the tsunami usually is. They can kick 100 points easily. So a bit of a worry there. Toby Green as well. He was subbed at halftime. I don't know if you guys saw any update, but it was a corked glute issue.
He looked like he got shot. He was pulling out the Mitch Marsh. He was doing a bit of
That would have
everything.
been so painful though. I would not want to go.
It did look pretty rough.
Yeah, so that's not good. Oh, were you going to say something?
Yeah, sorry. I was going to wait for you to finish.
No, all good. You go.
I just want to go through the Giants' next few games.
Sure, let's.
Because we're talking about them being terrible and give our flowers to Port Adelaide, who were great, but they've got Brisbane, Gold Coast, West Coast, who they should win, and then Geelong.
So one of their next 4, they'll probably win. But knowing
They
GWS,
probably need to win.
They beat Geelong.
They probably need to win 3 of those.
They beat Geelong at the Cattery. I'm not even kidding. They have a chance against Brisbane. The way Brisbane are going,
have a chance against Brisbane.
but they're not beating Geelong. I don't think
they're not beating Geelong,
even though
they just beat Geelong
at the
a couple
Cattery.
weeks ago.
Yeah. But they haven't been very good at home this year. They've lost a couple at NG. Now they're 5-12 in their last 17 at Monica, which is a real worry because you go there. It was sort of like North or Hawks even down in Launceston North. Like if you're having a home away from home, you want it to be a fortress. 5-12 is it's a real worry because it's not easy to play in those conditions over there, and you can't keep losing like that. You should be used to it by now, as are Gold Coast in Darwin. So a little bit of a worry there for GWS. All right, Sunday fun day. Game of the round. No, not the game of the round, but this is at Hands Oval in Bunbury. North Melbourne taking on West Coast. North Melbourne, 9 goals, 8-62. Get the job done. West Coast, 6 goals, 16-52. Don't know how we got the job done, Marcus, but we did.
There we go. Round of applause.
Yes.
North Melbourne is the only team to win at Bunbury.
Yeah. Have your teams won at Bunbury, lads?
No.
Negative.
No, but yeah, that's all right. That's all right. You'll get there one day. One day.
But you got there just about 4 goals, 5 to 1 goal, 2 in the final quarter. Yet another game decided by inaccuracy and poor kicking or goal kicking.
Oh,
Yep.
From West Coast. Jeez.
It was what West Coast had 34 inside 50s before they kicked their first goal of the game. That was courtesy of Jack Williams. He played quite well, actually. He finished with a couple.
He did miss some sitters. Though,
He did miss some
That was
sitters.
0, 8 or 9 to
Yeah.
start the game as well.
I reckon they kicked more out in the full than goals.
Well, they only had 6.
Could
Yeah,
be.
maybe.
It's
maybe.
just 7 out in the full. Like,
Possibly.
Swirling breeze. No, it was not at all.
In Bunbury.
But it was arguably the worst half of all time. Arguably the worst game of all time, let's be
Yeah.
honest. It was 21-14 at halftime in favour of North Melbourne.
It was pretty
despite-
much Paul Curtis versus West Coast in the first half.
He was winning, wasn't he? At halftime, he was 2 goals. 2, wasn't he?
something
No,
like
2
that.
goals 1, I think.
2 goals
but
won.
it just lost to West
Just
Coast first half
lost.
score. Yeah.
But West Coast did dominate that first half. And
Oh,
they
yeah.
dominated probably 3/4 of that game, the first
Definitely.
3/4 of that game.
Yep.
But West Coast had 22 more inside 50s. But the clearance was, they just really got dominated. They got taught a lesson there in the middle, particularly in the last quarter. Clearance count ended up 42-24 in favour of North Melbourne. And that was led largely by Jerry.
the best
he was-
ruckman in the comp.
Ooh.
He's-
Yeah, it
Well,
could
you
be.
don't
Definitely
see
could be.
Stephen May arguing with him after the game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true.
Cherry's
Which
not
we'll,
kicking
we'll touch on.
sideways
We'll
talks.
touch on in the
Nah, that's harsh.
the King's birthday game. coming up.
Yes.
But Jerry had 22 disposals, 10 clearances, and 37 hitouts. He eclipsed 150 plus in Supercoach for those who play along at home. But I thought also from a North Melbourne point of view to add on, Zerha was actually quite impressive, particularly in the air. I thought he was huge throughout that game, especially in that last quarter where he kicked 2 goals.
Yep.
He took 3 contested marks, 6 marks for the game. And another one caught your eye, Liam, as a North fan.
Yeah, so we got Sheasley, who was finally playing on the ball, a little bit forward, but mainly on the ball. He had 28 disposals, 7 tackles, and most North players didn't do much for the first 3 quarters. I was so disappointed. I just wanted to bring that up as a North fan. Really disappointed how we went about that. Yes, very, very happy with the win because we don't get to win very often, but couldn't believe that. But Sheasley finally found his role, and Leo, you got a few points on that one.
Was Kane Collins right?
He was.
Was Kane? Oh, let him back in the room.
Let him cook.
Let him back in the rooms, you dogs. Come on, he was right all along.
He
All
was,
he's
he was.
saying was Sheasley is probably your best player
Yep.
when he's playing his best. Put him in the guts. That's where he gets to work, and he did in the second half. And I think Clarko should step aside and just let Corns run the team.
Oh, Kane Corns.
Why not?
I'm happy that Clarko finally is not putting the magnets around. We talked about this before the show, Leo, that he's been putting, Sheasley, defense, midfield, forward. Like, just keep him somewhere. And he was mainly in the midfield on the weekend. And same as a few other guys were mainly defense or mainly forward. We just need a bit of synergy there rather than just changing it all up. So Clarko finally come to his senses.
That win, North fans should just be thanking Corns.
We absolutely,
Take the-
daylight robbery. That win.
Daylight
It was
roll.
obviously take the 4 points and move on. But positive for West Coast is that they put in yet another strong performance.
Yep.
Despite
That
what many would
as a
suggest.
West Coast fan, though, you'd be so
be kicking
filthy.
yourself.
You'd be so filthy.
You'd be
Yeah, they
kicking
could have
yourself.
won by
But
a
if
few
they
goals, yeah.
if they play like this again throughout the season, I'm sure they'll win another couple of games.
Yes. North Melbourne jump Richmond, surprisingly, even though we probably say
Avoid
Richmond.
the spoon.
Avoid the spoon. So probably, West Coast have locked in the spoon, sadly for the Eagles fans. But as we talked about the last couple of weeks, still green shoots coming through, including the likes of Jack Williams.
I thought Elijah Hewitt as well was one that
Yeah,
played
he was
very
solid.
well.
Yeah.
As a young and up-and-coming midfielder, he showed that at multiple stages against my mob, the Bombers. He played really well.
He's got a bit of class about him. Yeah.
He does. So he's
No,
one
good
to look
call.
out for the rest of the year.
Good call. All right, get around my beloved Roos. Sunday night at the MCG is the next one. Carlton Essendon. Carlton 11 goals, 12-78. Get the job done over the Bombers. 11 goals for 70. Leo.
Oh, the Bombers got jumped again.
I know.
First against Brisbane and now against the Blues. Look, the Blues were everywhere early on in this game. I think it was 40-7 at quarter time. And that one Essendon goal. Remind me who that came from, Stats Guy.
The one Essendon goal early was Luol. He was awesome.
Yes.
4 Bombers players now have actually kicked their first goal from their first kick in AFL footy this season. 4.
Yep.
That
There's
never
been
happens.
A lot of Essendon debutants because of the injuries
There has.
this season.
Yeah.
So still 4 is very impressive.
They've actually, like a few of them probably came in a bit earlier than they wanted because you've had so many injuries. But they've all made a little bit of impact, which I think is a good sign for Bombers fans.
Yep. I thought this was a classic winter game of football.
It was.
It was scrappy, but not ugly. It was just one of those sort of contest ones where a lot of 50-50 balls. And I thought just ultimately the Blues were up for those tougher contests more when the game was on the line as well. Even when Essendon came late, the last quarter, the Blues stood up. Look, the Essendon mids did get going. They, as I mentioned, got jumped, but Martin and Caldwell got into their groove. They sort of led that fight back a bit. But when the game was on the line in the last quarter, and he had a great game, Tom De Koning.
Oh,
what a performance. 23 disposals. He kicked a goal, 29 hit outs, and he just set the Blues up countless times. He set up, the likes of Chera, Hewitt, Walsh, Cripps, and it was just a silver service sort of display from him. And
pay him what he wants.
He
Pay him what he wants.
Poor Goldie.
He did something on the weekend that I haven't seen any player in the history of the game
Tackle
ever
Goldie?
do before.
But that's not true.
Kick it on the full from a boundary throw and into the second tier.
Oh, I did see it. Yep. That was a very weird moment.
What?
Yeah.
Yep.
I think he was going for goal, right? He just
It was like 70 meters. It was like 70 from goal, and he just went in the second tier.
I was at the game and I thought it was a bit closer.
That's crazy.
But yeah, overall, I thought De Koning was really good.
De Koning was really good. I want to bring up, boys, Zach Merritt. Now, we love him. He's been a little bit up and down the last couple of weeks. His movement and where he's playing is changing. What do you think about his role at the moment, Leo?
Well, we talked about it on the Thursday, the preview show, that Merritt averages his least amount of disposals against Carlton and any other side, and he got 14.
Yeah.
Chincotta was on him, tagging him. I thought Chincotta did a great job, but Merritt only had 8 centre bounce attendances.
What the hell?
Which is the 5th most of the Bomber mids. I want to throw a question to my resident Bomber mates. Mate's a loose term, I guess. What were your thoughts on that?
Okay.
What were your thoughts on that? And would you continue with that sort of setup where he's playing a bit more on the flanks?
Look, I know they're trying to get the best. We have a lot of those sort of midfielders that all want midfield time, but you can't sacrifice that time when it's Zach Merritt, the leader of your club. I know he's probably the first to be like, look, boys, I'll go on half-back, especially a young half-back line as well, with all our injuries, and sort of solidify. I think it's more just because of the injuries, and we need a bit more experience down there, and because of he's such a good kick, they put him at half-back. Yeah. But then again, we saw against Brisbane, he turned the ball over a little bit. Against Carlton, he did the same thing, trying to pull off something that was a bit too hard to chew, and then turned it over. But I was surprising with the lack of centre bounce attendances, because in that meeting that he had with all the Essendon greats, a lot of that was talking about, and he talks to Chris Judd as well about how to get rid of or how to cope with a tag.
Yeah.
So this would have been the perfect game where he's actually copping a tag to stick in the middle a bit more where the Bombers need him.
And also, Chincotta's not a centre bounce player. So
it helps Chincotta,
Merritt was on the flanks is like, Chincotta can line up at either flank. That's no issue for him.
Yeah, I don't care how many good midfielders the Bombers have. We've talked about that they have some solid midfielders. Caldwell's playing well, even Setterfield's solid. You've got to put your best player in their best position. I don't understand that from Brad Scott.
At the end of the day, if you're a Bomber fan, you don't want to look at the stat sheet and Merritt's had 14 disposals. If he's had 14 and he's played in the midfield, then you go, okay, he's had an off night. But I just don't think it was utilised that well.
And this was a huge win for the Blues. They needed this because they were the bottom 4. I feel the bottom teams were catching them, which is really surprising. So they really needed that one. Even the likes of Jesse Motlop stood up. We were a bit worried about how he was going to go. He kicked a couple of goals.
He stood up. He missed one late, and then the Bombers started coming. And I thought, oh, are they gonna go for him? Because Blues fans, they have a bit of a love-hate relationship with Jesse.
Yes,
but no, he was deadly.
He was. So Blues get the win by 8 points. The Bombers tried their best for the comeback, but just started slowly. Let's get into Monday at the MCG. Actually, before we do, we're going to get into our ice bath challenge. Leo was frosty over there, so let's have a look at it. Oh, you were fine?
Yeah, I was fine.
I don't know about that. Let's have a look at it right now and make sure you donate as well. I'm staying. King's birthday Monday, Melbourne, Collingwood, 10 goals, 11, 71 for Melbourne. Collingwood, 11 goals, 6, 72. Another 1-point win. Now let's specifically Marcus on this one. Melbourne's inaccuracy last week. Have they done it again in Collingwood? They just were so efficient inside 50. Marcus.
Yeah, it was the game of the round. It was a game of inches. There was a touch right on the line from Tholstrup shot from 50 out.
Whose shot was that?
Tholstrup.
Oh, Tholstrup.
He is the hardest name in the league to pronounce.
That went over my head.
Say Colton Tholstrup 3 or 4 times in a row.
Colton Tholstrup.
Oh my God, how did you
Very
do
good,
that?
very
There we
good,
go, I
very
did
good.
it.
I don't know what was more impressive, Leo or that game. Well, boys, what was that the game of the season so far? This Collingwood Geelong was another great game of the season.
I'm going to say it's
Yeah.
top 3.
I think
Top 3.
Collingwood Geelong still for mine is.
But
game
it
of
was
the season.
awesome.
One of the-
Yeah, great game.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about how Collingwood just know how to win those close games. It was Melbourne who, on the other end of the stick, didn't really know. They had a lot of panic kicks in that last quarter, particularly last 10 minutes, highlighted by big Maxi Gawn trying to pull off a torp in the final 30 seconds and didn't pull off, and there was the game. But May cracked it at him for that late turnover. How much do we read into that, boys? Was it a little bit of...
I think everyone can see in the footy world that I don't know if May's the epitome of great blokes, but Max Gawn was probably one of their best players. He stuffs up at the end. Yeah, he clearly wasn't trying to do that. He's their captain. He's never done anything bad. Like, he hardly ever stuffs up. So I was a bit disappointed in Stephen May.
And it wasn't only Max Gawn who pulled off those sort of kicks. I remember Max Gawn took an intercept mark down at D50, hand passed it off, and one of the more experienced defenders, it might have been Judd McVie even, he kicks it straight in the corridor, straight to where Darcy Cameron was, straight into his chest. No Melbourne player in sight. But nevertheless, Langdon was tagged Dacos.
Yep.
Did he get the best out of that tag? Nick Dacos ended with 19 disposals, 8 clearances, and a goal. Langdon himself had 4 disposals, 6 tackles, and 4 free kicks against. I'm going to pose it to you boys. Did the tag work?
I don't think it did.
Well, I'll say it does, because Nick Dacos, he's probably had 11 touches less than he usually does. He's had at least 3 clearances less than he usually
I
does.
reckon he's had the same amount.
He'd have at least 10 or 11 clearances a game. He kicked the goal, and the goal was a 50-metre penalty. That was Cozzy's fault, because Cozzy gave away a lot of free kicks. So I reckon he gave away 4 or 5 as well. So I'm going to say overall, Langdon did a solid job. I think he was playing unfair a lot of the game. I think that I'm just saying that. I think
Have a cry.
I think Nick Dacos gets the rub of the green with the umpires, but in terms of Langdon was grabbing him, I didn't like the
if
tag.
he played unfair, he had 4 frees against, so then he copped his right whack for it.
Yeah, that's
So-
fine.
True.
But all I'm saying is it worked, because Nick Dacos would, I think, usually have more impact on the game.
It worked, but they still lost.
By 1 point, and they played better in the second. Oh, no, it was 1 point, though.
point.
I think it throws midfield structure out the whack as well, especially when you lose. So
No, fair point.
As well, but perhaps he should have tagged the other Dacos, because it was Josh who ended up with the best on ground medal for the game. 34 disposals. He was superb, and he's just having another great underrated year, and we'll see him on that All-Australian wing spot come the end of the
Yeah,
season.
that's what I think.
Yeah.
Who else is on the wing?
Richards and McCluggage.
I feel like you put Richards on ball.
No.
He's not. Richards isn't fitting in the team. I don't know where this started. I don't know.
You've got to get him in.
And McCluggage, there's 2 wing spots, McCluggage and Dacos.
I think Richards. That's a debate. Let us know in the comments.
Let us know in the
Every
comments.
Pies fan right now is sending me
Screaming.
abuse. fair enough.
Fair enough.
On the Melbourne front, they were actually very, very respectable throughout the game, particularly
Yeah.
in the first half. They put their tactics on the board to a T, but Collingwood's accuracy, we talked about it. They led at halftime by 8 points, despite probably not having the best of starts. They kicked 6 goals, 2 in that first half. But in the second half, the game began to open up. It was in a basketball-like contest. So Scott
Pendlebury would have loved that
he
one.
would have loved it.
Do explain. Do elaborate.
It was just end to end. It was constant. It was
A lot of
frantic.
timeouts.
No, not quite. Not,
Yeah.
not,
The
not
last
quite.
5 minutes went for an hour.
Halliburton hit a game winner. I don't know. No.
Too soon, stats guy.
But
I'm a Thunder fan.
Hey, they won today. It's all good. You should know that.
It's not an NBA podcast.
Sorry,
Go on,
sorry.
go on. Pickett and Fritsch, they sort of, when the ball hit the deck, they were the most dangerous. And in the second half, they just went off a little bit, particularly in the third quarter, in the early stages of the last quarter. They kicked 6 goals between them. 6 goals, 2, in fact. But Fritsch, another little mistake, which possibly, looking back on it now, he wouldn't have played on and kicked a point after he had the shot 20 metres straight out in front. But Gawn, again, he just dominated the rock battle against Cameron. But Cameron did have his moments, particularly in that last quarter.
He was
with
good,
quite
yeah.
a few intercept marks.
Yep.
He stood up in the big occasion, as he does so far in a Collingwood jumper. But Gawn finished with 43 hitouts to 19 for Cameron and 6 clearances to 2.
And 2 sprays from Stephen May.
And 2
Chuck it in the
sprays from
stats.
Stephen May.
Yeah, it was a good battle though. I think that ruck battle in recent years has always been fun to watch because Darcy Cameron is sneakily up there as a top sort of 5.
Yeah, but you got. This is what I said before. You got Cherry and Gawn, and then the rest right now. in terms of consistency. Like, you
Yeah.
look at the stats, everyone goes, Nankervis is really good. He's having very similar stat line to Darcy
English has been in
Cameron.
and
And
out.
I don't
Meek
think it's as
and-
big of a gap as you think.
I think you
it
got
is.
Cherry, Gorn, big gap.
TDK for mine.
oh,
this
yeah,
season.
sorry.
TDK for mine.
Other than and then you got TDK, and then you've got Nankervis, Cameron,
Nankervis?
and Meek. I don't know. I think there's a bit of a big gap from the top two or
Marshall at
three.
his
Yeah,
best.
Yeah.
Marshall, yeah,
We're probably missing someone too.
yeah.
Is it Goldie?
Goldie, I don't know about Goldie, but yeah, it always
It
is
was.
fun with watching those
It
two.
was. So let's see where these teams end up on the ladder after this round, Stats guy.
Yes, let's get right into the ladder. Good work there. We've got Collingwood absolutely flying on top. Very, very handy with that 1 point win because now they're a game and a half above on top of the ladder, so they'll be absolutely loving that. You've got the Cats. They've jumped the Suns into the top 4. I was a bit worried about them a month and a half ago. Didn't think they were playing their best, but they've been absolutely flying now up into 4th. You've also got Freo now in 8th. The Dogs have just dropped out. They're a game out of the 8 still, which is a little bit of a worry. Carlton, they were in the bottom 4. They've jumped up to 11th, so that's at least promising. Can they push for the finals?
That part of the ladder.
It's a weird one, isn't it?
10th to 15th that's an absolute mumble at this stage.
Yeah, 10th to 15th is just one game. So it's 9th to 15th is one game. So that's a bit of a strange one. You've got Melbourne and Port, 14th and 15th. Disappointing for their clubs because you'd think they'd be a bit higher up. And you've got the bottom 3. I don't think that's going to change for the rest of the season. You've got North jumping above Richmond. They could toss and turn throughout the whole rest of the season probably. And you've got West Coast at the bottom. I think that's locked in for the Wooden Spoonlights. What do we think?
Agreed.
All right, that's the ladder check. Let's get into the tipping results. Leo doesn't want to talk about this one. He got 4. What are you doing, mate? Come on.
Bombers, first quarter, terrible, let me down.
Yeah, that wasn't a horrible tip. 8 points.
We all tipped Richmond, and we all tipped Giants, and we all tipped the Dogs.
Most people tip Giants. Most people didn't tip Richmond, but
No,
we
most
got on
people
the.
didn't.
We got a bit
Most
of
people
a.
tipped Dogs.
Yeah,
So
that wasn't too bad.
But myself and Stats guy ended up in 5, so
It's not too bad.
we could walk away with our heads held high.
Yeah, 5 is all right in a buy
yeah,
round.
let's just wait till we get to the lock results.
We're doing lock result? Nah, I don't reckon we do lock.
Yeah,
Lock
let's jump into the lock results.
All right, Leo, great lock.
Hey, you had
Curtis
it
2 plus.
5 minutes into the game, Paul Curtis.
Curtis 2
Yeah.
plus. Marcus, Cats win.
Cats win. Don't lose at GMHBA to
Pleasure
Gold
doing
Coast.
business. Nothing but dubs
Good
on
luck.
this side
And
of the table.
Stats guys lock North to win, wasn't it? North was a lock. No, I said GWS to win. What are you doing, Giants? I'm never tipping you again.
Ken Hinkley and his locksmith, they just walked up to McMarnica Oval and
He's
they unpicked the lock. And
But
that's
who-
2 weeks in a row.
Who's
by the
safer in
way.
their job after that, me or Ken Hinkley?
Ken Hinkley.
Ken
Yeah, I think so
And
too.
Ken Hinkley already has a replacement.
Who's my succession plan? Yeah, it's Alex when he comes back.
Marcus, right? Gerald, actually. He's
Gerald.
coming back.
He's
He'll,
coming
our producer.
Oh my god. Anyway, I will be studying a lot this week. I need to have a good lock
Studying
next
a
week
lot.
because that is really
It's about
bad.
Surely
time you did
if
some
you
work.
get 3 locks wrong in a row, we have to do something. Come on.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll quit.
Yeah. Mm.
No, I'm not shaking on that. I love this job. Big call results. Let's swiftly move past the locks. Big call results. My one, I just want to touch on it. Tim Taranto wasn't too bad. 25 disposals and a goal. I had him for 25 and 2 goals. He actually played really well. Just couldn't find that second goal. So I was a bit frustrated there. Leo,
Yeah,
I think you need to stop. I was going to bring this up. I think you need to stop
what?
saying Harley Reid for big calls because
Why not?
he hasn't been that good.
I love him.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I said for reference, 20 and 2, got 19 and nothing. He had a point. We should have kicked it.
Doesn't matter, you missed, mate.
That was the whole of West Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
was
I
a bad
love
miss.
Harley, though.
Yeah, but he's a bit underwhelming.
Everyone hates him and says his attitude's crap, but I love him.
And
that's okay.
I had the All-Australian, Ed Richards, the future All-Australian.
You were bloody close.
I had him for 30 disposals and a goal. He finished with 25 and a goal.
16 at halftime, by the way.
Yeah, I know. He finished with 9 disposals in the second half.
Watch this space next week when we get all our predictions right. Just watch.
You
watch.
say that every
this.
week. Maybe let's just say we're never getting one right again for the season, and then we smoke them.
Yeah, the floodgates.
The floodgates will be open. All right.
floodgates.
Whatever you guys say. Best on ground of the week. We'll leave this one to Leo. We've had some controversial ones over the last couple of weeks.
We
I reckon,
have?
but, we'll see.
I feel like I've nailed the best.
Maybe
on
maybe
ground.
for the team of the round.
Yeah, actually, maybe it was the team of the round. Leo, best on ground of the week.
One vote, B. Grundy, 19
Yes.
disposals, 51 hitouts, and a goal. And I don't know, we've just been talking about Sydney players needing to step up, and he's done it for a month and a half now. So
Yep.
he was fantastic. 2 votes, T. DeConning, 23 disposals, a goal, and just an insane impact. And there might be Sydney fans watching going, why didn't Grundy do better than DeConing? Because you could argue on stat-wise that Grundy did. DeConing did it, I think, when the game was on the line. Sydney
Was a big
team
yeah.
effort.
Yeah.
Were fantastic. And De Koning sort of said in the last quarter, I'm going to sort of lead this charge for my team when Essendon were coming. So that's the reasoning there. all
Good
right?
reasoning, mate.
That's
Good
all
reasoning.
right.
You can still have a crack at me, Swans fans, in the comments. I'm fine with that. 3 votes. M. Holmes. He's got to be for me. 40 disposals. He was the main guy. And the Suns' midfield is so bloody good. You got Rao, Anderson, Miller. Flanders can roll through there. Bailey Humphrey's been good this year. It's a bloody good midfield. With no Bailey Smith, Holmes has just run the show in there. And I don't think Rao, Miller, and Anderson combined their 3 bits of impact did not equal what Max Holmes did.
I agree.
Fantastic. Well done, Maxi boy.
So where were the Gold Coast players? You could say he was left home alone.
You mean they were left home alone? Proper English, please.
But it's Max Holmes. So he was left home alone.
Oh, I thought you meant like the Suns were left home.
Oh, wait, when you explain that joke, it
when
doesn't work, lads.
God damn it. I thought the Suns were left home alone in where they were. Oh,
I'll try to pull off a dad
Also,
joke.
where's Zach Butters on here? Come on. I wanted Zach Butters in there, I reckon. I bet maybe over one of the rucks. But
Really?
he was unbelievable.
He was.
But I don't.
It's stiff. It's stiff.
It's a good list. It's a good list.
I gave reasoning. To
So
him.
congrats to Maxi Holmes. 3 votes
What
there.
does he win?
Full credit. Best team of the round. Now, I don't think I've agreed with you the last couple of weeks, Marcus. So we need a good showing here.
Are there any losers in this
It's
one?
all right. Unlike last
Did
week,
West Coast get in here? Sorry.
unlike last week, I don't have a losing team
Okay,
in the votes.
okay.
Melbourne? Sneaky.
Flashback to last week when I put Richmond as 1 vote against GWS.
Yeah, way off.
Flashback.
Or should I chuck Melbourne in here? No, I won't do that. 1 vote goes to the A Crows.
The Crom.
Hey, Crom.
A Crom. They were very, very good. Although they probably should have lost that game, but they did get the job done. So credit to them. They got the 4 points in the bag
Accuracy.
against a
top
top 4
Top
side.
2 side.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
So they needed to, shut up a little bit of doubters from the outside saying they don't beat the big teams, and they did that. 2 votes goes to the H Hawks.
Hey, Chalk.
H Hawk, where their backs up against the wall at Marvel, a lot of spotlight on them. Sicily and Wizard out, 2 big outs.
Yep.
Obviously without Will Day as well. The Dogs, a lot of talk about the Dogs, particularly at Marvel. They had that fantastic record at Marvel where they won 9 on the trot. But the Hawks made it 4 on the trot against the Dogs, so I'm going to give them the 2 points. And 3 votes. 3 votes.
3 votes.
It could be 3 volts. Port Adelaide Power for upsetting the GWS Giants away from home, where, let's be honest, we thought Jesse Hogan would outscore Port Adelaide. There could be a chance. That could be one of our bigger calls.
Confident on that, yeah.
But, they've been bad, but when they play good, they deserve their flowers. So for me, Port Adelaide were the best team of the round.
No, I really respect it. You've come in, you've done the research, you've done a good job on best team of the round. So I'm very happy with
I've
that.
done my research.
Yeah.
I saw who won and lost.
Yeah, that's all you need to do,
Yes.
mate. That's all
Unlike
you need.
last week, though.
Yeah.
Richmond, I'm standing by this. Richmond deserved a vote.
You went delusional last week. That's all good. That will do us for the AFL Today show. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you subscribe to AFL Today on YouTube and follow us on X, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok for more footy content all season long. Subscribe, star, and like all of our shows on your podcast apps. That's Cricket Today show, which will be back tomorrow for the World Test Championship preview, which will be awesome. Australia, South Africa. What a clash that's going to be. We've got AFLW today later in the season. Hold all tickets, True Bloods, Honest Beers, and Footy Form Guide. Thank you so much to Alessi behind the camera for stepping up in Gerald's absence. Thank you very much, Leo.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you, Marcus.
That guy was a little baby.
Wow, where did that come from? On that note, we will see you Wednesday for the Midweek Madness. We'll catch you then on AFL Today.